In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to implement Django-filter with pagination without one of them breaking the other one. Because if you've ever used Django-filter with pagination, then you'd probably know by now that using them together uh, breaks the other one, such as when you filtered a query set by a category, then if you go to the next page, which is a property of pagination, then it breaks the filter and the page shows up as if you haven't applied the filter. So we're gonna take a look at how to make them work. And before we start, I'm gonna assume that you already know about Django-filter and pagination, so I'm not gonna get into details about those things. Of course, I'm gonna do the project from the beginning, uh, but I'm not gonna go into much detail when I'm implementing pagination or Django-filter. Okay, I've taken care of all the essential stuff here. I've created my project, named it Django-filter plus pagination. It really doesn't matter. I've installed Django. I've started my project using Django admin, and then I've created an app called My App. It really doesn't matter if you're gonna use a new app or if you're gonna do it in your main app, which I named My Site. Okay, so let's go to My App and define the models. Okay, let's make a simple model and let's call it person. Let's keep it simple. And models.model. And let's give it name. Models.char field. Max length, let's say 50. And gender. Okay, let's copy this. And age equals models dot integer field. Okay, let's give it a default of 5. Okay, now that we have our models, let's get to making our filter. So let's install Django-filter. Django-filter. Okay, now let's create a. Okay, I've already created a Python file called filters.py, and let's import Django-filter. Import Django_filters. Okay. Now let's make our filter class person filter. Okay, filter Django filters dot filter set. So it's basically like a model form where we pass our model, which in this case is person. Let's import that from dot models import person, and we have to specify the fields, which in our case will be everything. So let's say name, gender, and age, and we're good to go. Okay, now we can get into making our views. But first we'd have to make some imports from .models import person, and we're gonna need our filter class. Okay, from filters import person filter. Okay, now let's make our views. Let's call it show all persons. Show all persons page. Let's give it request, and let's declare an empty dictionary, which we're going to use later. And we're going to need an instance of person filter. So let's call it filtered persons. Person filter. Let's pass in the filter parameters, which we'll get from this. Okay, request.get, and our query set will come from our all the person objects that we have. So person dot objects dot all. Okay, let's pass it to our context. Here's, let's say, filtered persons equals filtered persons, and let's return render. Let's pass in request. We'll need an HTML. Okay, now we can get to making our HTML right now. Okay, let's make our HTML right now, but before I do that, I'm gonna just write .qs because I forgot that filtered persons will not be a list. What we want is the .qs field from it. And now let's create our HTML. Okay, now we have to make a new directory called templates, and in it we create another directory called my app, and let's make our HTML. Let's give it the same name as our view, persons page.html. Let's keep it as it is. And okay, our filtered persons.qs will have a form which will render right over here. Okay, let's say form. Okay, method get, and okay, so we named it filtered persons, so that's the name I'm going to use. Filtered persons dot form dot sp. Okay, now all we need is a button. Okay, let's say input type submit and value press. And now let's show all our persons. Okay, for person in filtered persons, let's end the for loop. Let's make an h2. Okay, now person dot name, and let's put a br tag. Let's copy this and put it everywhere else. Let's change it to gender and this one to age. Okay, great. Okay, we need to take care of some essential stuff like specifying URLs, but before I do that, I'm gonna just run the migrations. Manage.py make migrations, python manage.py migrate. Okay, let's see if our servers are running. Manage.py run server. Okay, let's copy this. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna do some essential stuff like specifying the URLs and creating the models in the admin site. So in order to keep the video from getting unnecessarily long, I'm gonna keep that part out of the video. Okay, I've taken care of all the essential stuff. I've added 10 person objects, and I've named them from A to J, and let's see if it works. Now I already have my server running. I'm just gonna copy this and I'm gonna run that. Okay. Okay, I haven't passed my template to my view, so I'm gonna have to do that now. Okay, let's run my app slash show all persons page because that's what we named our template. Now let's see. Let's try again. Okay, great. But there's something wrong with the form, which I'm gonna have to fix now. I found where the issue is, so let's fix that. Okay, we're gonna need this filtered persons as it is, and because the filtered persons object has the form, and let's put .qs here and see if it works. Okay, it turns out it works perfectly. So let's test it out. We got our list of person objects, all from A to J. We got ages 5, 6, 6, 5, and male, female, so that we could test out our pagination better. Okay, let's search for D. Okay, we got D. Let's search for all the males. Okay, we got all the males here, and let's search for all aged 5. We got aged 5, aged 5, and we don't apply any filters, and we got everything. Now let's try pagination. Okay, that's another project that I did. Let's try pagination and see if it works with Django-filter. Okay, so we got import from Django.core.paginator, import paginator, and we're gonna need a paginated list. So a paginated object, paginated filtered persons equals paginator. It's going to return a paginator object. We're going to have to pass our filtered persons, and let's say we're going to paginate by 2. Okay. Okay, now we're going to have to pass filtered persons.qs. Let's say we're going to have 2 entries per page, so we're going to have to get the page now. Let's say page number equals request.get and page. Okay, I'm not gonna get into much detail about these things now because I'm assuming that you already know about pagination. Let's say we're gonna need a paginated a page object which will contain a page of entries. So let's call it person page obj, person page object, and let's say paginated filtered persons dot get page number. Okay, now this will pass the page number and return a person page object. Okay, now let's pass it to our context person. Let's give it the same name, person page obj, and we're good to go. Okay, let's fix our template now to include pagination, and I'm gonna do the wrong way first to show why it doesn't work, and then I'm gonna do it the right way. So let's fix our template. Okay, it's right here, and okay, we've passed our person page object, so we're gonna use that in the for loop, person page obj, and let's make a division for pagination. Let's say span class step links, and if we're gonna want to know if there is a previous page. Okay, if person page object dot has previous, then we're gonna want to go to the previous page as well as the very first page. So if we're gonna need links for that, hrefs, let's make our link to the very first page. Let's do an href, okay, but we need to make it a class pagination class, and let's
specify the href question mark page equals 1, which will take us to the very first page, and left angle quote. Okay, this will display a left pointing arrow to go to the first page, and first let's copy this, href page equals, okay, person page object dot previous page number, okay, and let's copy all of this, and if there's a next page, we want to go to the very next one, which will get like this. There's a next page, go to the next page, and we're gonna need a right angle quote here for the right pointing arrow. This will take us to the previous, and we also want to be able to go to the very last page. So first page object dot paginator dot num pages, which is essentially which returns the number of pages, and let's just say last. Okay, let's erase this because we need the left angle quote here and the right angle quote here. Okay, now let's put a little something for our convenience. Call expand class current, and right page person page object dot page of person page object dot paginator dot num pages. Okay, so basically it's gonna say we're at this page out of this many pages. Okay, and let's put our right angle quote here and our left angle quote here beside our first link, and let's see if it works. Let's run server, and okay, seems like it's working, but there's something wrong here. It says page of 5. We have 5 pages. Okay, let's see. Okay, person page obj dot number. It should work now. Perfect. Okay, as we can see, we got 5 pages, which makes sense because we got 10 objects, and each page holds 2 objects, so we got 5 pages. Okay, let's say if our pagination is working, which turns out to be so, as we can see that it actually is working. So what if we apply some filters? Let's say we want to get all the male entries. Okay, the first page seems okay. Let's go to the next page, and the filter broke. There is a female entry, which shouldn't have happened because we applied a filter for the male objects, and the reason for that is because of the URL right here. Okay, let us see what happens when we apply a filter. Okay, when we reload the page, it stays as it is. When we go to the next page, there's a page parameter which says page equals 2. When we go to the next page, it says page equals 3. So every time we go to a page, a query string parameter gets added to the URL. Now, if we apply a filter, what happens is that some additional parameters get added. So we haven't specified anything in the name field, so name equals empty, and we haven't we have specified the gender, so gender equals male, and we haven't specified the age, so age equals empty. So we can see that we have all our fields from this form separated by ampersands and with the values that we have specified and empty otherwise. Okay, now let's apply another filter on the gender field to be female. And now let's try to go to the next page, and we can see that our filter broke. So let's take a look at our URL, and it doesn't have all the other parameters. All it says is page equals 2, and it doesn't have the name equals this and gender equals that. Now, we need to understand why that is before we can fix this issue. The only way our view knows how to display the entries according to the filter is through the URL. But in this case, we don't have all the necessary filter parameters, which are name, gender, and age. We only have page equals 2. The reason why that is that in the HTML, we've only specified that whenever we're clicking one of those arrows, one of these links, it takes all it says is go to page number this. Go to page number, go to the next page, go to the previous page, go to the last page, and go to the first page. It doesn't, so it eliminates any necessary filters that we've applied. So we have to find a way to make sure that whenever we are going to a different page through these links that are filtering parameters are retained. And an elegant way to ensure that is to use template tags. And for that, we're gonna have to create another directory. Since I'm using a new app, I'm gonna have to create a directory called template tags, and there I'm gonna have to create a __ init Python file, init.py, so that it's treated like a Python package. And I'm gonna need a new Python file. Let's call it myapp_extras. Template tags are nothing but functions that we define and pass to our templates. And Django has a lot of built-in template tags, but we're gonna create our own custom template tag for our situation here. But we're gonna be modifying a pre-existing template tag. So I'm gonna refer to the documentation here. Okay, in order to I'm gonna copy this part because this is something that you're gonna always have to do if you're building your own custom template tags. You're gonna have to import this from Django import template, and you're gonna need a register, a variable named register, which will be instantiated with this line, template.library. Okay, now let's make our custom template. Before I get into building our custom template tag, I just want to clarify that the only reason I put myapp_extras.py under template tags, which is under my app, is because I'm using a new app, which is this my app. And if you're not using a new app, if you're doing this project in your main app, you'd probably want to register your template tag in your settings.py. So refer to the Django documentation for how to do that. But for me, I'm using a new app, and since my template tags are declared under this app, I'm good to go since I've already installed my app in my settings.py, just like this. Okay, now let's get into building our template tag. Before I continue, I want to give credit to the article from where I got this solution. Make sure you check out simpleisbetterthancomplex.com. The author, Vitor Friedas, has a lot of good content on Django web development. Okay, now let's continue. We're going to be using register.simpletag. Simpletag is a built-in Django template tag, which we're going to be modifying. So we don't need to know how that works. We can simply define our template tag. Let's call our template tag my URL, and as mentioned before, it is a function. It's going to take three parameters called value, field name, and URL encode. I'm going to explain these later, but I'm going to type it out first. These three parameters will be passed different values to our templates. Value will be passed the page number, and field name will be passed the string page, and URL encode will contain the part of the URL from page equals something all the way to the end of any filter parameters that we might have, and otherwise it will be none. So let's declare another variable called URL and code it like this. This equals this dot format field name and value. So is a format is a string function, so it's gonna put field name here, which in our case will be page, and it'll put the value, which is the page number, here. Now, if we have passed a URL encode variable, then we have to do the following. Okay, we're going to need a variable called query string, and we're going to have to split our URL encode, URL encode.split. We're going to have to split it by the ampersand, so it's going to, if our main URL is this, then our query string after splitting by the ampersand will be this. Will be a list of strings which is essentially our main URL split by the ampersand. Okay, now we're gonna need a few more variables. Let's call it filter query string, and we're gonna have to use the filter function. Filter. We're going to need a lambda function that's going to return p, and p dot split by equals 0 not equals field name. Okay, I'm going to explain that a bit later. Let's pass query string. Okay, what this is going to do is gonna take this query string, which is, as we've discussed, a list of strings, and is gonna iterate through this list. Is gonna take each string and split it by 2, and every time it's gonna check if the first string is equal to the field name, which in our case is page, and if it's equal to the field name, it's not gonna do anything, and if it's not equal to the field name, then it's gonna return that. So basically, it'll filter our query string, which contains all these strings, and it will eliminate this part. So all we'll be left with are these. Okay, now we're gonna need a few more variables, and I just want to clarify that I'm using the exact same names for the variables as I've seen on the article. So if you want to use other names, different names for your variables, then it's absolutely okay. Okay, let's call it encoded query string, and it's gonna be the result of joining our filtered query string right here. So encoded query string will be this. So it'll be all these strings joined by ampersands. And I've made a mistake here. It's not going to contain the question mark. Okay, we're good to go. We're going to need another variable. No, not a new variable. We're just gonna have to redefine URL. We're gonna have to put all these together. Is dot form. We're gonna have to call format again. Pass URL. Pass encoded query string. And what this will do is this will take our URL and encoded query string, and it'll put these together. So our URL in our example looks something like this, and our encoded query string looks something like this. So if we put them together, it looks something like this. Okay, it contains the URL that we want. It has the question mark page equals 2, ampersand, name equals empty, ampersand, gender equals female, ampersand, age equals 8. Of course, it won't contain these curly braces. I've just put these over here for clarity. All we have to do now is return this string, which will contain the URL that we want. Now we're gonna have to load our template tags in our templates. Okay, all we have to do is type this. Okay, say load my app underscore extras, and we're gonna have to pass our template tag, the function that we just defined here. Okay, now what we have to do is we named that my URL, so we're gonna pass it that way. Okay, what we have to do is we have to pass the function and then specify the arguments in order. Okay, so the first argument was value. So for the first page, we're simply gonna pass 1, and we're gonna have to pass the string page, and we're gonna have to pass URL and code, which we're gonna get like this: request.get.url encode. This will contain our URL in this format. Okay, now we're gonna have to do the same thing for all the hrefs. So let's put it like this. And my URL, and instead of page 1, we're gonna need person page object dot previous page number. Previous page number. And let's copy this, and let's do the same for all other hrefs. Okay, let's put next page number, and do the same for the last one. What to do is person page obj dot paginator dot num pages, and our filtering should now work with pagination. So let's try it. But before we can see any change, we have to quit and run server again, because we just added some new template tags. Okay, so let's run server again. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, my extra is not a registered tag library. Okay, let's see. Okay, it took a while. It was a silly mistake on my part. It will have to be my app underscore extras, so we have to quit and run server again. And let's refresh. Okay, great. Now let's try our filters out. First, let's try it without filters. It's working perfectly. And if we apply a filter, let's say female, and if we go to the next page, okay, it seems to be working just right. Now, uh, I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you got any issues regarding this, let me know in the comments.